So thank you for having me, and Access Pro Bono got a little bit of an introduction right before we all came on stage, and so I understand many of you are probably already familiar with a lot of our services, but Access Pro Bono is a nonprofit society that was incorporated in 2010 to carry on the work of two organizations that facilitated pro bono legal services across BC called Access Justice and Pro Bono Law BC, so Access Pro Bono. And our organization matches individuals and nonprofit organizations of limited means with volunteer lawyers who have agreed to take on and provide legal services on a pro bono or free basis across BC. So we have a number of rosters of lawyers who have agreed to provide their services free of charge. And we also have a number of kind social services organizations that have generously provided their facilities, most specifically for our summary legal advice clinics, where people may come and consult with a lawyer, usually for around half an hour, at a social service center within the community. Access Pro Bono's vision is a justice system in which having limited means is not a barrier to obtaining quality legal services. And Access Pro Bono's mission is to promote access to justice in BC by providing and fostering quality pro bono legal services for people and nonprofit organizations of limited means. Now, we offer a number of different programs for folks of limited means who have legal issues, and I'm going to get into some of these in more depth in the course of my talk, but primarily our services are our summary legal advice clinics, our roster programs, and there are a number of these, our Civil Chambers Duty Counsel program, which is based out of the Vancouver Courthouse Library, and this is for folks who have urgent or pending civil legal issues. We have a number of duty counsel who come and volunteer and can either appear in court or assist folks in drafting materials for civil legal issues that are urgent. We have our paralegal program, where we've recruited a number of paralegals across the province to assist folks in drafting legal materials. Our Wills Clinic program, which is also based out of the Vancouver Courthouse, and our Refugee Program, and finally our Residential Tenancy and Employment Standards programs. The program that many of you might be most familiar with is our Summary Legal Advice Clinic program. And this program is for clients who call our intake line and set up 30-minute appointments to speak with a lawyer in a specific legal area. Once a client or someone on behalf of a client has called our intake line, they'll be set up with a 30-minute appointment with a lawyer. These appointments are with qualified lawyers, and we do our very best to match people's legal issues up with lawyers who have expertise in that area. And these meetings are bound by the strictest rules of lawyer-client confidence. We can schedule clients with follow-up meetings if necessary, and so I know of some clients who can't afford a lawyer. We can't find them a lawyer through our roster program, but go to 7 or 8 clinic appointments and can really kind of get teed up for the entire court process just through 30-minute appointments. It's not ideal, but it's better than nothing. And lawyers do their best to provide their clients with written advice. So there's a sheet that they'll fill out through the course of the appointment, where they'll give the client essentially a prescription of what their legal advice is coming from the appointment, so that the client has something to take with them in case everything went too fast and they have trouble explaining it to the next person they have to deal with on their issue. Our lawyers for our summary legal advice clinics do not go to court with clients, and they do not take their clients on in a full representation capacity, though there have been situations where a lawyer is compelled by a specific issue and then will transfer to our roster program and then take a client on in a more full capacity. But in the half-hour appointment, they can assist a client in preparing for court, and this can range from anything from reviewing drafted materials to explaining the rules of evidence to trying to identify what needs to be said in an upcoming application or court hearing. We have a means test to identify people's eligibility for our program, for our summary legal advice clinic program, and this means test is applicable across a number of our other programs as well. There's no equity or asset test, so to be eligible for a clinic appointment, a client's gross monthly household income must be below $5,000 Canadian for a 1 to 3 person household, or $7,000 for a 4 or more person household. So we try and be somewhat flexible in our financial eligibility criteria, and we typically try not to take on clients that are eligible for a legal aid lawyer. And so we're trying to fill the gap between folks who are covered by legal aid and then folks who have the funds to hire their own lawyer. The clinic process is pretty self-explanatory. A client will call our client line. One of our trained client call volunteers will book them an appointment with a qualified lawyer, or if they have an issue that our services cannot assist with, then they'll provide them with alternative legal resources. And this could be a referral to legal aid, a referral to public legal education, etc. And then finally, the client will be set up with an appointment at a legal clinic across the province. And our client line is displayed here. You can call the 604 number if you're based in Vancouver, but you can also call the 1-877 number, or you can simply email us at help@accessprobono.ca. And we really do respond to every call and email, so someone is there to listen. Relevant to this specific conference, there are specific clinics for immigrants and refugees that are based out of Immigrant Services Society of BC, The Gathering Place, Mosaic, and then there's some specific immigration and refugee clinics out that are held out of the courthouse and out of Success, Coquitlam. However, immigrants and refugees may also just call the client line and may just be booked into a regular appointment. And so we certainly have services for people with specific immigration and refugee issues, but immigrants and refugees don't just have immigration and refugee issues. They also might have, poverty law issues or family law issues. And so our lawyers will do our best to find a lawyer that meets their specific needs. The next program I'm going to talk about is our roster programs, and this is these are programs that are for clients who need more than 30 minutes of summary legal advice. And so sometimes when someone has gone to a summary legal advice clinic appointment, it becomes very clear to the client and the lawyer that they need something more. And so that's when they can be referred to our roster programs. We have our barristers roster, which is kind of our catch-all roster. And so when I say roster, I mean our roster programs are a series of mailing lists of lawyers who've agreed to be on call to potentially take on clients in a more full representation capacity. And so I'm our roster program manager, and when I get a referral of a client who needs more full representation services, I will do a financial eligibility and merit assessment and then send that opportunity out to this roster of lawyers. And if a lawyer is interested and available, they'll get back to me. And then I will match the client up with the lawyer for more full representation services. So our barristers roster, we take on clients with legal issues, really of any sort, including civil, criminal, or administrative law. And the only issues we don't take on are full-on provincial court or Supreme Court trials, but we will take on clients who have specific issues in provincial or Supreme Court. They say they have an application they need assistance or representation at. We will send those opportunities out on our roster. Our family law program, we will send clients with family law issues, we will send those opportunities out to our roster of family law lawyers to try and assist pairing folks who have family law issues up with a lawyer. Our refugee program matches and supports volunteer lawyers with British Columbians seeking to sponsor one or more refugees from Syria, Iraq, or elsewhere. And so this is really a roster to pair lawyers up with sponsors. We have a wills and estates program, which has been fairly active lately. So folks who don't have a will or need other services in terms of advanced planning, we can send them out on our roster, and lawyers have been known to travel to hospitals and to people's homes and to palliative care service centers to provide these services to clients. And then we have our solicitors program, where volunteer lawyers provide legal advice and assistance to community organizations in all areas of nonprofit law. Our next program is our residential tenancy program, and this is a program where lawyers and law students will provide legal representation to low-income tenants and qualifying landlords who have an issue that comes under the Residential Tenancy Act. And so we'll serve folks who are facing evictions, illegal rent increases, security deposit issues, requests for repairs, and some monetary awards. Representation is BC-wide but cannot be guaranteed. And like with our roster programs, unfortunately, because all of our volunteers are providing their services on a volunteer basis, we can't guarantee that we'll be able to match every client up with a lawyer or student. But services are BC-wide. And this is the contact information to get in touch with our residential tenancy program. We also have an employment standards program that provides legal representation to low-income employees who have an issue that can be heard by the Employment Standards Branch, common issues being termination pay, vacation pay, and overtime. Again, representation is BC-wide but cannot be guaranteed. And contact information for our employment standards program is here. We also have a number of new programs, including our medical legal partnership program, where we've paired up with social workers and other hospital employee staff at palliative care facilities to provide legal services to people who are facing end-of-life issues. We also have a Court of Appeal program where we have agreed to provide some degree of legal services to every self-represented litigant who files with the Court of Appeal. We have a number of new clinics, not so new, within the last 2 years. And one that I did not mention here was our Homeless Connections ID clinic program, where volunteers assist folks who have no identification with obtaining some. And another program that I failed to mention in my PowerPoint is our Islamophobia hotline. And this is a province-wide telephone service for people who've been discriminated because they're discriminated against because they are Muslim. And this is the product of a consortium of social justice and anti-racist groups across BC, and Access Pro Bono manages the hotline. And so if you or someone you know has experienced Islamophobia, you can call that number and we will try and pair that person up with a lawyer to explore their options. Now, I don't have the phone number up here, but I'll try and circulate it after the fact. And so, to close, if you have any questions about our programs or services, you can contact me. My direct line is there, or my line with an extension is there. And then if you have specific questions about the summary legal advice clinics, my colleague Frank is a good person to contact. So thank you very much.